the chairman of this meeting, Comrade P. Ramaya, Comrade B.V. Raghavelu, Comrade P. Madhu, and comrades and friends. I first of all want to thank the M. Basapunya Vijnana Kendram and the Prajashakti Book House for inviting me to deliver this Makineni Basapunya Memorial Lecture. I've also been asked to speak on the subject of 25 years of liberalization and its experiences. Comrade Basapunya was one of the foremost Marxist ideologues of our country. We have just released 2 volumes of his selected writings. Earlier there were 2 volumes brought out. And these 4 volumes of the selected writings of Comrade Basapunya provides us with the great versatility of his range. He used to write on issues of Marxist theory. He wrote on current political developments. He wrote about important international events from the standpoint of the working class movement. He wrote on issues of philosophy, and he wrote about social problems in our country. And Comrade Basapunya, if he had been alive, today he would have written extensively on the process of liberalization that took place in our country and the consequences of the liberalization on our society. Unfortunately, he died in 1992, just when the liberalization process had begun in 1991. But we could have given his penetrating insights based on Marxism into social, political, and economic developments. We would have greatly benefited from his approach and understanding of what has happened in the last 25 years in India under liberalization and neoliberal reform. So, to begin with, why do we say that this year marks the 25th year of the liberalization process? Why do we say that 1991 is the year which marks the beginning of liberalization in India? I think it's more from a point of convenience. In 1991, the Narasimha Rao government was there at the center, and Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister. And the budget presented, the first budget of this government was presented in July of that year, after the Lok Sabha elections. And in that budget, many proposals or economic reforms were put forth for the first time officially by the government of India. That is why 1991 is seen as the watershed from which the process of liberalization began. At the same time, we should understand that this was not a spontaneous or sudden development, or that it was something unique to India as a country. The liberalization process in India must be situated with what has happened with the world capitalist system and international finance capital, which is by the 1980s, throughout the world, international finance capital got more concentrated and developed. And this globalized finance capital began dominating the economies of all the advanced capitalist countries. And this globalized finance capital would move around the world seeking avenues for investment and making quick profits. And it is this type of finance capital which got dominance over the productive capital which was there in various nation states, which began shaping the new phase of capitalism globally. And it is this dominance of globalized finance capital which ushered in the period of imperialist globalization and the advent of neoliberal policies all over the world. I don't want to go into that history. In the 1980s itself, in the United States of America, in the UK, governments came which began to implement neoliberal policies under President Reagan and again with Prime Minister Thatcher in the United Kingdom. And very soon, neoliberal policies became the norm in all the advanced capitalist countries. And this was the period in which globalized finance capital acquired dominance, and at the same time, the socialist countries, particularly the Soviet Union, began to weaken economically also. And finally, we saw the dismantling of the Soviet Union in 1991-92. This is not a coincidence. The emergence of this new aggressive globalized finance capital and the weakening and setbacks to the socialist system in the world. It is in this conjuncture that countries like India, which had earlier adopted state-sponsored and state-directed capitalism, they were also compelled to give up that type of capitalist model of development. And the Indian ruling classes recognized or accepted that we have to also go on the path of liberalization and implementation of neoliberal reform. As against the earlier period between 1947 to 1991, when the Indian state actively intervened to assist and promote capitalist development by setting up the public sector, by intervening to see that policies were adopted which will protect Indian industry, the new fledgling Indian industry from outside competition and imports by imposing excise duties, etc., import duties, etc., and also making a big public investment in agriculture. All this to promote capitalist development in India. Contrary to all this, from 1991, the period which is characterized popularly as economic reforms. Now, economic reforms has a positive connotation, that reforms are always good. That is why I am not using the word reforms. I am using the word neoliberal policies or neoliberal reforms. And what did that imply? It meant, one, that the economy is opened up to international finance capital. Secondly, there is deregulation of the economy. Thirdly, there is privatization in all spheres of the economy. Fourthly, the putting in place of purely market-oriented policies. And fifthly, the change in the form of state intervention changes. That is, now the state is called upon to directly assist the big capitalists and corporates to help them to accumulate capital. Accumulate capital by taking over land, taking over mineral resources, all the public resources which were earlier considered to be in the collective public sector. All those resources should be now transferred into the hands of the people who own big capital. So this process began in 1991. Now this process of implementing neoliberal reforms is continuing. It is not a process which has ended. In India, it has advanced in certain areas more. It has not yet taken off fully in some areas. That is because of the opposition and resistance which has been existing, put up by the trade unions, the working class movement, by the people's movement, peasant movements, etc. Take the example of the financial sector. In India, even today, the public sector or the nationalized sector dominates the financial arena. The banks, the insurance companies, the pension funds, etc. But step by step, the successive governments, and in this there is no difference between the Congress-led governments and the BJP-led governments. Only BJP is able to do it more aggressively when they come to power. We find that insurance has been opened up to the private sector. We find that the foreign component, that is FDI in the insurance sector, is being increased with bitter resistance. For a long time, it was only 26%. Now they've increased it to 49%, the Modi government. That means 49% of the private insurance companies in our country are foreign capital. Eventually, they will become dominated by the foreign companies. In the banks, private banks are allowed now. Narasimha Rao, Manmohan Singh tried it, he failed, but now foreign companies and banks can invest 74% in Indian private banks. That is, they can have the controlling share in Indian private banks. But the nationalized sector banks still are state-owned. But now, the process which began earlier to reduce the government shareholding, starting with 100%, it became 90%, then 80%. Now, many banks have 70, a few banks have even 60 to 55%. So the Modi government now says we'll even bring it down below 50%. What is the harm? That means gradually the nationalized banks will become denationalized, that they will become in the private sphere. But this process is going on. It is being resisted, it is being stopped. The first nationalized bank that they're trying to privatize is the IDBI. The first, they want to sell, disinvest majority shares. So government share will become a minority. That is the first test example. It's not yet been done. The bank unions, the employees are putting up a stiff fight. But the direction is clear. The financial sector is vital in the modern economy. And international finance capital wants to have full access to our financial sector.